My son-in-law figured I was too old and too blind to notice him slipping money out of my wallet. He treated me like some useless old fool. But the night he crept into my room again, planning to lift another couple $100, he ran into something he was not ready for. The look on his face told me he would carry that moment with him forever. Before we continue, please subscribe to stay updated on our latest stories. My hands shook as I counted the bills for the third time. 20, 40, 60. The numbers blurred together, but the sum did not change. $900 had vanished. I sat at the edge of my bed, staring at my old leather wallet, the same one my father used to carry before it was passed down to me. For as long as I could remember, I had reached for that wallet in the same spot on the nightstand every single morning. But today did not feel like all the other mornings. Something about it was wrong. Maybe I had spent the money myself, I whispered, though the excuse felt hollow even as I said it. Where would I have spent $900? On groceries? At Eddie's coffee shop where I buy my weekly coffee? I tore through the bedroom, searching under the bed, pulling open dresser drawers, rifling through every jacket pocket I owned. Nothing. The hollow pit in my stomach only grew heavier with every empty place I checked. Downstairs, the smell of bacon drifted up, and I could hear Diana humming along to some tune from the radio. A normal morning sound, but nothing about this morning felt normal. It was like a picture on the wall had been knocked just a little crooked. I went down the stairs slower than usual, legs heavy. Diana stood by the stove, flour dusting her blue apron, hair tied back in the same ponytail she had worn since high school. "Morning, Dad," she said with a smile, glancing over her shoulder. "Coffee's ready." "Diana, you have not seen my money, have you? I cannot seem to find $900. Her face changed in an instant, worry flashing across her expression. "Money? Dad, I never touched anything in your room. Are you sure you did not spend it somewhere? Maybe you forgot?" The suggestion stung harder than I expected. Was I already turning into one of those old men who misplace things and then accuse family when their minds start to go? "What are you two whispering about?" Derek's voice came from the doorway. He was still in his work clothes from the day before, his dark eyes flicking between Diana and me. "Money troubles again?" he asked. "Derek, you have not been in my room, have you?" I kept my voice steady, casual. His stance shifted immediately, arms crossing, shoulders stiffening. "What exactly are you saying, Mr. Whitman? That I am a thief?" "I am not saying anything. I just asked if you saw. I put in 16-hour days to keep this family above water," he snapped, his voice sharp enough to cut. "I do not need to steal from anyone, especially not family." Diana stepped quickly between us, her hands moving nervously. "Dad, Derek would never. There has to be some other explanation." But I kept my eyes on Derek's face. His gaze slid away from mine. His anger came too quick, too polished, like a story he had rehearsed. A cold weight settled in my chest. "Of course," I said softly. "I am sure the money will turn up." Derek snatched his lunch bag off the counter, gave himself an extra long look in the hallway mirror, then stormed out the door. I am late for work. The door slammed behind him, louder than it needed to. Diana laid a gentle hand on my arm. "Dad, you have been under a lot of strain since Mom passed. Sometimes grief plays tricks on our minds." I nodded, but my eyes followed Derek's truck until it turned off down Euclid Avenue. After 3 years of living alone since Nadine passed, I knew every bill that went into that wallet. My memory was fine. I was not confused. I was being stolen from. That night, we gathered in the living room the way families do. Diana sat on the couch folding laundry, stacking Derek's work shirts into neat piles. I had the sports section spread in front of me, pretending to read, but my eyes kept wandering to Derek. He paced near the window, restless. He checked his phone, combed his fingers through his hair, fiddled with the blinds, like his nerves would not let him be still. The tension rolling off him was impossible to miss. "Honey," he said suddenly, turning toward Diana with a smile too wide, too bright. "I have a surprise for you." "Close your eyes." Diana's whole face lit up like a girl on Christmas morning. "Derek, what did you do?" "Just close your eyes and hold out your hand." I lowered the paper a little. Derek reached into his jacket and pulled out a small velvet box, the kind of box from the high-end jewelry shops downtown, not the discount places we usually went. Diana gasped when she opened it. "Oh my goodness, it is beautiful. Where did you get the money for this? The chains sparkled under the lamplight, fine gold, not cheap plating. I had worked long years in Cleveland's factories. I knew quality when I saw it, 17 karat at least. I picked up extra shifts at the warehouse, Derek said proudly. Worked all weekend loading trucks, got double overtime pay. You did not tell me you were working weekends. Diana's voice carried wonder, not suspicion. Wanted to surprise you. When a man wants to provide for his family, he finds a way. I folded the newspaper neatly on my lap. They must pay pretty well for weekend work these days. Derek's smile twitched, just for a second. Time and a half on Saturday, double pay on Sunday, plus hazard pay for chemical shipments. What warehouse was that? I asked, keeping my voice easy like I was only making small talk. The one off Industrial Boulevard, he answered quickly. General Manufacturing just gave us a new contract. He was already fastening the clasp of the chain around Diana's neck, his hands steady, his voice smooth. Dangerous work, he added, but worth it to see her smile. Diana threw her arms around him, her eyes shining with tears of happiness. It is the most beautiful gift anyone has ever given me, she whispered. I sat there watching them, running numbers in my head the way an old habit never leaves you. A necklace like that? At least $700. Probably more. Strange how the math added up. $900 missing, $700 spent on jewelry. You are spoiling her, I said, forcing a smile I did not feel. She deserves to be spoiled, Derek shot back, locking eyes with me in a way that carried more than affection. It carried challenge. A man has to provide for his family, whatever it takes. When he sat down, I heard the faint crinkle of paper. My eyes caught the edge of a receipt sticking out of his pocket. Windsor Jewelers, Commerce Street. That was no discount shop. That was where lawyers and executives bought gifts, not a warehouse worker pulling weekend shifts. Well, I said, pushing myself up and stretching. Think I will call it an early night. Got a long day tomorrow. Diana looked up from admiring her reflection in the mirror. Dad, are you feeling all right? Just tired, sweetheart. Good night. But I did not sleep. I sat on the edge of my bed, wallet in my hands, listening to the muffled sounds of laughter drifting up from the living room. Diana's light giggles mixed with Derek's deeper voice, painting the picture of a happy home. A picture that felt false to me now, missing cash, costly jewelry, lies about overtime shifts that I could verify with one quick call to the warehouse. 43 years as an engineer had taught me how to solve problems. You followed the evidence step by step, no matter how much you disliked the conclusion. 3 weeks later, at 8 o'clock in the morning, I sat on my bed again with my wallet open in my lap, staring at another ugly truth. $400 gone this time. There was no confusion now, no nagging fear about my memory slipping. Since the first theft, I had checked that wallet every morning, noting each dollar spent like clockwork. The night before, I had $700. Now there were only $300 left. That meant the money had vanished sometime after midnight, while Diana and I slept. Derek had rolled in around midnight, reeking of beer, claiming he had been at his evening shift. By 8:15 sharp, he was gone again, off to work. But I remembered hearing him in the bathroom at 6, humming a tune while he got ready. Actually humming. The pattern was impossible to ignore now. Steal money, act cheerful, buy something that made Diana glow with gratitude. Divide her loyalty between her husband and her father. But I was finished being a mark. I picked up the phone and dialed information. Metro Electronics, Business District, please. A clerk answered brightly. Metro Electronics, how can I help you? Good morning. Do you sell small hidden cameras? Yes, sir. Several models. What is the application? Home security. I need something discreet. We carry wireless units with motion sensors, night vision, even smartphone connections. Very popular right now. I will be in this morning to see what you have. Downstairs, Diana was pulling on her supermarket uniform as I came down the steps in my good jacket. Dad, where are you headed so early? Downtown. Need to pick up something from the electronics store. Want Derek to give you a ride? He mentioned heading that way for work. The irony hit me hard, but I kept my voice even. No thanks, honey. I would rather drive myself. She kissed my cheek. Be careful. They are tearing up Commerce Street with construction. I patted her shoulder gently, wishing I could tell her the truth. Not yet. Not until I had proof she could not ignore or explain away. I slid into my car and checked the rear view before backing out. The face staring back at me looked different from the one I had seen these past months. No longer confused, no longer just a grieving widower. The engineer in me was back, sharp, focused, methodical. The thefts were not random. The amounts lined up. The timing made sense. His quick defensiveness told me everything I needed to know. This was a plan, plain and simple. Derek thought I was a forgetful old man who would never notice or never fight back. He was about to learn just how wrong he was. I gripped the wheel, steady as I drove toward downtown Cleveland, my mind already listing the features I needed: night vision, motion sensors, phone connectivity, maybe audio recording if the law allowed. Evidence came first, then the confrontation, then justice. The rules of the game had shifted, but Derek did not realize he was already playing against me. Circuit Central stood right on Commerce Street, bright as a lighthouse for anyone who needed gadgets. I slid my car carefully between two compacts and sat for a moment, noticing the security cameras perched above the entrance. Old habits die hard. My engineer's mind automatically took inventory of every angle and lens before I even went inside. If I was going to catch a thief, I had to start thinking the way a thief would. The door chimed as I stepped through, and I was greeted by long aisles filled with every sort of modern device you could think of: phones, tablets, speakers, and rows of security gear that promised the future in cardboard boxes. A kid with thick glasses came up, probably wondering what business an older man like me had in a store like this. "Looking for anything in particular, sir?" he asked politely. "Home security cameras," I said. "Something small but dependable." His whole face lit up like I had given him a favorite test question. "Residential or commercial use?" "Personal," I told him. "Needs to handle low light. It's Pratt. I want clarity even in the dark." He led me to a display wall where tiny cameras sat in neat rows, each box advertising features I had only seen in spy movies back in the day. Motion sensors, night vision, apps that let you watch live feeds on your phone. Technology had moved a long way since I had left the engineering floor. "This one here," he said, pointing to a small black square, "gives you 11 hours of recording on a full charge." I picked up the box, scanning the details. "How does it handle pitch black conditions?" "Infrared kicks in automatically. You will be able to make out faces clearly from 12 feet, he replied without hesitation. "And the motion sensitivity?" I pressed. "Adjustable in the app. It ignores shadows and small background noise but captures meaningful movement. Very popular model." The Night Eye Pro Mini sat easily in my palm, lighter than it looked, but the specs read like a checklist written for me: full high-definition resolution, wide-angle lens, wireless connection, timestamp. Everything I needed to collect evidence. "I will take it," I said, and carried it to the register. On the ride back, the box sat on my passenger seat like a brick. 40 years of designing systems and solving problems, and here I was, using that background to nail down a thief under my own roof. The irony wasn't lost on me. The driveway was empty. Diana's car at the supermarket, as Derek's truck gone too. That meant the house was mine alone. Perfect. I laid the contents out on the kitchen table piece by piece, like I was back in the shop dissecting a new circuit board. The instructions were straightforward. Mount, link to Wi-Fi, download the app, calibrate. Simple enough. In my bedroom, I took my time studying the layout. The dresser stood opposite the nightstand, covered with family photos. A framed photograph of Nadine and me made the perfect hiding spot. I eased the frame forward just enough to tuck the camera behind it. Too high and I would lose the view of the nightstand. Too low and the lamp blocked everything. I shifted it 3 times before finding the sweet spot where both the wallet and my water glass were visible. The app connected on the first try, feeding me a crisp black and white image with the time and battery right there on the screen. I pulled the curtains closed. The infrared clicked on instantly, painting the room in ghostly detail. Next came the calibration. Too sensitive, and the thing would go off every time the house creaked. Not sensitive enough, and I might miss the moment. I settled on a middle setting, tested it by walking past the nightstand, and smiled as my phone buzzed with an alert. Perfect. Now for the bait. I counted out $300, laying the bills in the wallet just so. Visible, but not sloppy. Enough to tempt, not enough to scream carelessness. The glass of water went back on the nightstand too, same place my late wife had insisted I keep it years ago. Tonight it doubled as a marker for the camera. Everything was ready. Camera hidden, bait in place, app armed. I turned out the light and paused at the doorway. Tomorrow morning would be different. The little red light blinked once, then went dark, waiting in silence. At 7 sharp, my eyes opened like they had for decades of early shifts. But today wasn't about routine. Today was about proof. I reached for the wallet. Empty. The $300 gone. No panic this time, no second guessing myself, only a grim sort of satisfaction. The trap had worked. My hand shook a little as I picked up my phone, not from weakness, but from the weight of what came next. The app showed one video file. Timestamp 3:22 a.m., prime time for thieves. My thumb hovered over play. The moment I pressed play, I knew there would be no turning back. No more excuses, no more second guessing. Just the plain truth, captured in pixels I could not deny. The recording began with my bedroom, empty and still. Then the door eased open, slow and deliberate. A figure slipped inside, moving with the kind of care that comes from practice. The camera sharpened his face instantly. It was Derek. The infrared clearly revealed his features in the ghostly green glow, leaving no room for doubt. He walked straight toward the nightstand. No hesitation, no searching. He knew exactly where to go. His fingers slid into my wallet with practiced ease. He flipped through the bills, counting just enough to be sure, then tucked them into his pocket. The whole process carried a speed and precision that told me this wasn't his first time. And then, something that twisted my gut. He picked up my water glass, the one I reached for every morning without fail, and spat into it. Not an accident, not carelessness, a deliberate gesture, dripping with contempt. I found myself whispering at the screen, "How long has this been going on? How many times have I swallowed his spit without knowing?" I watched it again, twice more. The theft itself was mechanical, like a routine. But that spit, no, that was personal. That was hate dressed as arrogance. My hands trembled as I saved the video twice over, once to my phone, once to the cloud. Something that damning couldn't be trusted to just one place. Downstairs, the house sounded deceptively normal. Diana humming in the kitchen, probably frying eggs and pouring coffee. Derek lying low, pretending to recover from another long shift, playing the devoted husband who sacrificed everything for his family. But I knew better now, and I needed another voice, someone who wasn't caught in the middle. I dialed Frank Coleman. He answered on the second ring. We had worked side by side for 20 years before retirement, solved problems, shared lunches, swapped family stories until trust grew thicker than blood. "Frank," I said, "sorry to wake you this early. I need your advice. It's serious." "You sound rattled," he replied. "What happened?" "I just caught Derek on camera stealing from me." The line went quiet, heavy. Finally, Frank asked, "Are you certain? You've got proof?" As clear as the sun, his face in full view, him taking my money, and more than that, things that prove this isn't the first time. "What are you planning to do?" "I don't know. Diana doesn't have a clue. This will crush her." "Evidence is evidence, Walter," Frank said firmly. "You can't just ignore it because you're worried about feelings." "I know," I muttered, "but she loves him. She doesn't see what kind of man he really is." Then maybe it's time she did. After we hung up, I just sat there on the bed, staring at the frozen frame of Derek's face glowing in that eerie infrared. Everything about it was clear. The timing, the motions, the identity. Undeniable proof. Now I had what I wanted, evidence. But evidence came with a question. What to do with it? Through the walls, I heard Diana moving around, pulling on her clothes for another day of work. Soon she'd kiss my forehead goodbye, smiling, blind to the fact her husband wasn't just a thief. He was worse. The living room felt different when I walked in. Same furniture, same family pictures, same lace curtains my wife had hung over a decade ago. Yet the air itself felt changed. Heavy, contaminated. I poured myself a cup of coffee, added cream, and still it tasted bitter. On the side table lay a leather photo album. My hand drifted to it, flipping open to December, the month Diana and Derek had first moved in. There they were. Boxes in the driveway, Diana crying with relief, Derek shaking my hand with gratitude written all over his face. "Dad, we're so grateful," Diana had said, hugging me so tight it almost cracked ribs. "Without you, I don't know what we'd have done." Behind her, Derek had nodded, humble. Walter, I promise this is temporary, but give just until we get steady work. I'll help around the house in the meantime, fix things, earn our keep. And I had believed him. Take your time, I told them. That's what family is for. Your mother would have wanted me to help. Those early weeks actually felt good. Derek patched the kitchen faucet I had ignored. He cleared the gutters before the snow came. He even helped me organize tools in the garage. We shared beers in the evenings, talked about his job prospects. Diana had glowed with happiness back then. Her father and husband working side by side, the house filled with laughter again. She started talking about next Christmas, about new traditions we could build as a family. Now I stared at those smiling photographs and felt the weight of betrayal pressing down on my chest. I kept asking myself the same question. When had thankfulness turned into entitlement? At what point did Derek's respectful Mr. Whitman turn into a careless Walter, usually tossed out with an eye roll? When did his eagerness to help become sharp criticism about my age, my habits, my supposed meddling in their marriage? The shift had crept in slow enough that I brushed it off at first. I told myself he was stressed about money. I figured job hunting was wearing him down. I tried to believe it was nothing more than the bumps of three adults sharing the same roof. But excuses only covered so much. I remembered his constant complaints about my television being too loud, his little digs about how maybe I should eat dinner in the kitchen so they could have the dining room, his cutting remarks about old folks who can't handle their own money. Looking back now, those words felt like poison, because while he was ridiculing my money management, he was also robbing me blind. The photo album sat open to Christmas. I could still see Derek unwrapping the expensive tool set I had bought him, Diana glowing in her new winter coat. All of us gathered around the tree, looking like a family straight out of an old photograph. Just 3 weeks later, he committed his first theft. Had he already been planning it then? Was he sizing up my bedroom when he was pretending to help fix things around the house? Watching my routines, learning where I kept my wallet? Love you, Dad. Diana's voice pulled me back. She stood in the doorway, dressed for work, purse on her shoulder. She leaned down and kissed my forehead, just like she did every morning. Love you too, sweetheart, I said, forcing a smile. You seem quiet today. Everything all right? I could feel the phone in my pocket, heavy with the video evidence. How could I tell her that the man she trusted was not only a thief, but a spiteful one at that? Just lost in thought, I said softly. Don't be late for work. She moved toward the door, then paused. Dad? I know having us here hasn't been easy, but I really am grateful. Derek is too, even if he doesn't always show it well. The irony was almost unbearable. After her car disappeared down Euclid Avenue, I closed the album and set it back on the side table. Those December smiles felt like relics from another man's life. Someone naive enough to trust without proof. The camera had stripped away illusions. Now came the question of action. Confronting Derek would wreck Diana's world. Calling the police would rip the family apart permanently. But saying nothing meant letting him keep stealing while spitting on my dignity. Proof I had plenty of. What I lacked was the decision on how to use it. I brewed chamomile tea in Nadine's old china cup. She had always sworn by it as a cure for nerves, but even her favorite blend couldn't steady the storm inside me. I spread my 2020-25 wall calendar across the kitchen table, red pen in hand. If Derek wanted to play games, I would play mine like an engineer, documented, precise. January 15th, first clash. I drew a big red X, remembering how he tracked mud across the floors after I'd politely asked him to remove his shoes. Old folks always have something to whine about, he had sneered. Diana had defended me, but the look in his eyes wasn't shame. It was resentment, like I was nothing more than an obstacle. January 28th, another X. That was the night he barked, maybe if you didn't meddle in our finances, we'd be better off. After I suggested Diana could pick up a little overtime at the supermarket. It wasn't a discussion. It was an accusation, turning my gentle advice into an imagined sabotage. I flipped to February, my pen hanging over date after date. By then, the hostility wasn't occasional. It was routine. February 14th, Valentine's Day. He gave Diana that gold chain, bought with money stolen from me the night before. I marked the day with the boldest X yet. He had been studying me, criticizing my ways while planning his thefts. February 26th. His voice still rang in my ears. This house feels like a prison with all these ridiculous rules. What stung worse was Diana nodding faintly, torn between loyalty to me and loyalty to him. Then March bled with red X's, more outbursts, more contempt. Old folks can't handle change. Maybe you should think about assisted living. Some people shouldn't be trusted with their own money. Hearing those words now, knowing he was siphoning my cash at the same time, nearly made me sick. I closed the calendar and checked the kitchen clock. 8:15 in the evening. Diana would be gone late for inventory at the store. Derek supposedly was off earning overtime, though I doubted he was anywhere near a warehouse. Tomorrow I'd drive downtown for supplies. Tonight I would plan. The hidden camera had revealed Derek's crimes. The calendar, thick with red marks, revealed his character. Both pieces of information, the hidden camera footage and the notes on my calendar, were going to serve me well soon. I rinsed Nadine's teacup carefully, holding it with the kind of respect Derek had never shown me, or this house. Tomorrow would mark the beginning of the final stage of a lesson that had been 3 long months in the making. Some men only learn through consequences. Some need to be reminded in a way they cannot forget that spitting on the hand that feeds you comes with a price. That thought carried me to a place I never expected to visit, Novelty World. The sign above the storefront flashed in gaudy neon like a carnival dumped on the sidewalk. I checked the address twice before pulling in. A place that sold whoopee cushions and rubber spiders didn't exactly scream justice, but I wasn't there for laughs. Inside, the walls were lined from floor to ceiling with practical jokes, buzzer handshakes, squirting flowers, rubber snakes, the kind of junk teenagers waste allowance money on. A clerk with purple hair and more piercings than I could count spotted me, eyebrows raised at the sight of a gray-haired grandfather wandering through shock devices. "Looking for something specific, sir?" she asked. "Yes," I said flatly. "I need something that teaches a lesson, harmless, but not something a man will forget easily." She led me to a glass case filled with items that all looked innocent until you picked them up. "These shock gadgets are popular. Depends on what you need them for." I picked up a wallet. Real leather, looked like something you'd buy at a department store. "How strong is it?" "Just 8 volts, she explained. "Safe, but enough to sting. Lasts half a year before the battery runs out." I examined the device carefully. It's not painful enough to cause harm, but more than enough to snap a thief to attention. "Good design," I muttered. 43 years of engineering gave me an appreciation for solid technical work, even in joke shop trinkets. "I'll take it." And I added, "I need prop cash, movie quality." She arched an eyebrow but didn't ask questions, just walked me to another display. The bills looked and felt real, right down to the paperweight and the faint wear marks. Only close inspection revealed the "for motion picture use only" stamp. I ran my fingers over the fake hundreds and 20s. They had the right heft, the right texture. How much for $300 worth? $24.90 for the bills, $14.50 for the wallet. Call it 40 even. I handed over real money, smiling at the irony. 300 fake dollars to replace the 300 Derek had lifted from me. Tomorrow, he would reach for my wallet like always and get exactly what he deserved. The clerk bagged my purchase carefully. "Hope this works out for you." "Oh, it'll work," I said, tucking the package into my trunk. Driving home, I went over the plan. After Diana went to bed, but before Derek's usual prowling hour, I'd swap out my real wallet for the shocking one. I'd fill it with the counterfeit bills, angled just right so they looked authentic in the dim light. The trap would be set by midnight. At the red light on Euclid Avenue, I caught sight of myself in the rearview mirror. Just another old man running errands, nobody worth noticing, nobody who would ever be suspected of plotting payback. But tonight, I was laying a trap my son-in-law would never forget. Dinner that evening smelled of bay leaves and simmering beef. Diana ladled stew into bowls with the same careful touch she'd always used, trying to build warmth in a house that had grown steadily colder. The kitchen was cozy, but I could taste bitterness under the comfort. "This looks great, honey," I said, forcing my tone into something pleasant. My eyes stayed on Derek. He barely touched his food, his usual appetite gone. "Dad," Diana asked gently, "you've been busy in the garage all afternoon, working on something new?" "Just organizing tools," I said. Amazing what you notice when you take a real close look at things. Derek's fork froze halfway up. Something in my voice must have brushed against his nerves. Speaking of close looks, I went on slowly, buttering my bread with deliberate calm. I've been reading up on home security. Amazing what technology can catch, even while you're sound asleep. Security? Diana asked, puzzled. You're worried about break-ins? Not exactly. More like inside jobs. Seems some folks think what belongs to others is free for the taking. Derek set his fork down hard. There you go again with your paranoia, Walter. Maybe you're just forgetting where your money goes. Paranoia? I gave him a thin smile. Interesting word choice. Tell me, Derek, how much did that warehouse overtime pay you last weekend? His jaw tightened. Why is that important? Just curious. Seems like some people manage to pull in cash awful easy without much actual work. Diana's head snapped up. Can we please have one peaceful meal? You two have been at each other all week. That's because your father keeps making wild accusations with nothing to back them up, Derek snapped, his mask slipping at last. I'm sick of hearing complaints from a cheap old man who clings to every penny like it's his last. The silence that followed was heavier than bricks. Diana's spoon slipped from her fingers and clattered against her bowl. Cheap old man? I repeated, leaning back slowly in my chair. My voice stayed soft, but the words carried weight. That's an interesting way to describe the man putting a roof over your head while you live here rent-free. Walter? Derek started, but I lifted my hand to stop him. No, by all means, keep going. I'd love to hear more of your thoughts about my supposed penny pinching and poor money management. Diana's eyes darted between us, alarm spreading across her face. What is going on? You're both acting like you know something I don't. I looked at Derek carefully. His face was red, his jaw tight, but I could see it, fear leaking out from behind the anger. He knew he'd slipped, let his mask crack. What he didn't know was how much I already had on him. Your husband and I just see respect differently, I said at last, turning my gaze back to Diana. Isn't that right, Derek? He shoved his chair back suddenly. I don't have to sit here and listen to this garbage. No, I answered calmly, folding my hands on the table. You don't. But remember, this is still my house. He stormed upstairs, footsteps pounding like a petulant child. Diana began clearing the dishes, her hands trembling as she stacked the plates. Dad, what's happening? You've both been on edge for weeks. Sometimes people show you who they really are when they think no one's paying attention, I said quietly. She froze, dish towel in hand. What does that mean? You'll understand soon enough, sweetheart. I pushed back from the table and excused myself, leaving her standing there, as caught between confusion and dread. Upstairs in my room, I retrieved the shock wallet and the stack of counterfeit bills from behind the dresser. The time for theory was over. The trap was ready. In just a few hours, after the house settled into silence, Derek would take the bait. I lay in bed with my eyes closed, listening to the slow tick of the clock. The glowing red digits flipped over to 2:45 a.m. when I heard it, the faint creak of a footstep in the hall. My pulse hammered, but I kept my breathing steady, the practiced rhythm of a man pretending to sleep. 3 months of being robbed and humiliated were about to meet their reckoning. The decoy wallet sat exactly where he expected it, loaded with fake bills, battery charged, and waiting. The setup was perfect. Bait positioned under low light, designed with the same precision I'd used in engineering projects decades earlier. Another soft step. The door eased open. Derek entered like a burglar, avoiding every squeaky board, every snag of carpet. He knew this routine cold. I tracked his movements without opening my eyes. The whisper of fabric, the shift of air as he moved closer. 3 steps to the dresser. A pause, making sure I looked sound asleep. 2 more steps to the nightstand. The trap snapped shut. Ah! What the? Derek's scream tore through the night as 8 volts lit up his hand. He stumbled back, fake bills spilling across the carpet, clutching his chest and shaking his fingers like he'd grabbed a live wire. I opened my eyes and clicked on the lamp, bathing the room in warm light. I sat up calmly. Painful, isn't it, Derek? Now you know exactly how it feels to be shocked by someone you trusted. What exactly are you doing in my bedroom at 2 in the morning? He froze where he stood, fake bills scattered at his feet, his right hand twitching from the shock. I was just going to get some water, he stammered, but he couldn't meet my eyes. Water? I sat up slowly, tugging at my pajama collar. From my wallet, strange, I missed the part where water comes wrapped in $100 bills. Fake bills? I don't even know what you're talking about, he said, his voice cracking. The same way you didn't know what you were doing the other nights you stole from me? I picked up my phone from the nightstand, thumb resting on the saved video. The same way you didn't know when you spat in my drinking glass? His face drained of all color. You're insane. I never. Really? I tilted the phone so the frozen frame of his face glowed in the dark. Shall we watch together? I've got very clear recordings of your late-night activities. His eyes darted around, wild and trapped. He looked less like a man now and more like a cornered animal. Then Diana's voice cut through the tension from the hall. What's going on in there? Is everything okay? Both of us froze. The moment of revelation had come sooner than planned. Diana appeared in the doorway, her robe tied loosely, hair mussed from sleep, eyes struggling to piece together the scene. Her husband pale and guilty, fake money scattered on the carpet, me sitting upright with my phone in hand. What's happening? She asked, stepping into the room. Why are you two shouting? Derek, why do you look like you've seen a ghost? I looked directly at her. Your husband has been stealing from me for months. Tonight, I caught him in the act. Her face went tight, her voice automatic. Dad, no. Derek would never do that. You must be mistaken. Watch this, I said quietly, while holding the phone out. She hesitated, shaking her head, but the steadiness in my tone made her step closer. I pressed play. The infrared footage filled the screen. Derek easing open the door, moving straight to the wallet, counting bills with practiced precision. This can't be real, she whispered, but her voice already carried the weight of recognition. The video rolled on, showing Derek pulling bills from my wallet with the speed of a man who had done it too many times before. Then came the moment that ripped the air out of the room. Diana gasped aloud as her husband leaned over and deliberately spit into my water glass. Derek, she cried, her eyes huge, her face pale. That's really you? You spat in Dad's glass? It's a setup. Derek's voice cracked as he scrambled for cover. He's framing me. You can't trust that video. He could have doctored it somehow. But Diana shook her head, pointing at the screen, her voice shrinking with every word. That's your face. That's our bedroom door behind you. That's the same shirt you wore yesterday. How could he do that? I didn't need to say anything. The recording was saying it all. I just sat there, watching my daughter's world collapse as the truth replaced every comforting lie she had clung to. Diana, please, Derek begged. I work hard for us. Why would I steal from your father? Because you never worked those shifts at the warehouse, I said flatly. Because every gift you handed her was bought with my money. The gold chain, the surprises, the stories about overtime, nothing but cover for your theft. Diana sank down onto the bed, her hands hiding her face. The necklace she'd been so proud of glinted under the lamp, now nothing more than stolen property draped around her neck. How long? She whispered through her fingers. At least 3 months. I answered quietly. Maybe since the day you both moved in. The silence that followed felt like a wound being torn open. At last, Diana lifted her head. The love was gone from her eyes. What replaced it was colder, betrayal, disgust. Pack your things, she said softly, not even looking at him. We're leaving tomorrow. Derek's mouth opened to argue, but one sharp look from Diana silenced him. It was over. By the next afternoon, the house echoed with the sounds of boxes and tape instead of laughter and television. Diana folded her clothes slowly, each movement controlled, dignified, though tears streaked her cheeks, now and then. Derek, on the other hand, tossed his belongings into boxes with angry jerks, muttering about how unfair life was. I stayed nearby but didn't press. Sometimes the best way to help was just to stand close and let someone grieve. Dad, Diana said at last, her voice low, I owe you an apology. I should have noticed. I should have questioned where the money came from. You're not to blame, honey, I told her. You trusted him the way a wife is supposed to. That's not weakness. It's goodness. That's who you are. She looked around the guest room one last time, eyes misting. I don't know where we'll go, but we can't stay here. Not now. You've got your job, I reminded her gently. Your own income. You'll figure it out. And remember, you'll always have a home here whenever you're ready. Outside, Derek was slamming boxes into the back of his truck. The neighbors pretended not to look. though I saw curtains twitching here and there. Diana carried her last suitcase to the porch, set it down, and turned to me. I hate that it came to this, she whispered, but I'm glad you showed me. Living inside a lie would have been worse. I'm proud of you, Dad. She hugged me hard, the kind of hug that says thank you and goodbye, and I love you all in one motion. I'll call once we're settled. I just need time. Derek banged the tailgate shut, then glared at me like he wanted to burn a hole through me. You'll regret this, old man. You destroyed this family. I looked him in the eye, my voice steady. Drive careful, and take care of my daughter. That's all that matters now. Diana climbed into the passenger seat without looking back. The diesel engine rumbled to life, and soon the truck disappeared down Euclid Avenue, my daughter's profile visible in the side window. Sad but firm. When I stepped back inside, the house felt different. The silence was clean, not heavy. The space belonged to me again. I brewed a single cup of coffee, not a pot, and sat in my recliner with the evening paper. Outside, spring dusk settled over the neighborhood in peace. No more missing cash, no more insults, no more tiptoeing in my own home. This wasn't revenge. It was protection. The engineer in me had done what he always did. Identify the problem, design the fix, carry it out, and confirm the results. Sometimes protecting the people you love means telling truths that hurt, truths that break illusions. But in the end, they keep a family safe. My home was mine again. The problem was solved. To hear the next story, click the box on the left. And as always, thank you for watching.